All right, what's up, everyone? It's Mike Deiure. How you doing? Welcome to the lesson. And as always, let's start out by just making sure you guys can see and hear me. Make sure everything's good to go. Yep, cooking would be awesome. Yep, awesome. Hey, everybody, how we doing? All right, sounds good. Cool, awesome. All right, so I'm going to kick off just for a couple minutes while people are kind of piling in and just jam for a minute or two. I love it. Keep them questions coming in. We already got topics to talk about, which is great. So let me jam for a minute or two while everybody comes in, and then we'll really jump in and get started. So this is I'm going to jam along to a backing track called, what is it called? E Blues Rock Jam. All right, and I'll tell you more about that one in a sec, but let's see what happens. There we go. Cool. All right, how's everybody doing? Let's see, just a minute. Very cool. You're breaking up a bit. All right, cool. It's probably a little bit too much going on at once, but thanks, Coco. Let me know if it kind of continues to break up. So, hey, everyone, what's up? This is Mike Deiure. Welcome to another awesome live guitar lesson brought to you by the awesome folks over at tivamo.com. So really happy to be here. I think this is our third or fourth lesson, and it's going great. You guys are getting really responsive. I love it, and asking great questions. And hopefully these lessons are helping you guys out. Today I'm here, like always, to kind of answer whatever questions you have about learning, playing guitar, music, production, anything. But, you know, obviously guitar is what we're here for. So about me a little bit, I teach, I've taught guitar for over 15 years professionally. I have two websites that teach guitar online. One of them is called rockguitarpower.com, and the other is called superguitarlicks.com. And they're both kind of focused around different things. Super Guitar Licks focuses a lot on lead playing, soloing, and improvising like I was just doing. Rock Guitar Power is kind of everything from beginner to immediate to advanced. So a lot of the lessons that I like to pull from and the backing tracks, all those things are kind of talked about in those two programs. So if you're interested in learning more, check those out. Another quick note that I wanted to talk about real quick too that I forgot to mention the last couple lessons is that there's a donation button on the page somewhere there. All the proceeds that people donate are going to VH1 Save the Music, which is a really great program that helps keep music programs going in high schools for kids. Something I really love hearing and supporting. So, you know, any proceeds that come in go to there. So it's really exciting to see that kind of happening, which is great. So, awesome. So today, I had one topic I was going to talk about, but we already have things that people are asking, which is great. So we're going to be on here for an hour and covering whatever you guys want. One thing I'll talk about if things get quiet for a second is learning by ear, getting better at using your ear to kind of play and figure out songs. Your ear is something that's really important to develop, and everybody is kind of given a different situation with how good their ear is. You know, teaching for so many years, I've really had the experience of seeing how different people react to learning music and guitar. And your ear for music is something that's really a strong component of all that. And just so you guys know, I was not given a great ear. You know, I've definitely realized after working with hundreds of students that, you know, my ear is kind of average. And so I've worked a lot to develop it and to know how to use it better to help me figure things out. And the goal is, you know, if you hear something in your head that's maybe a song you want to write or a melody, or if you hear your favorite song on a recording, you know, using your ear to get that out into your fingers and out on the guitar is one of the things that fine-tuning your ear is the best for. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later as we go. But I want to kind of already just jump in and talk about the questions that are coming in. So, oh boy, you guys are super active. I love it. All right, so let me read through a couple of these, and we will jump right in. So, let's see. So Coco was the first one to kind of jump in, and you were wondering about changing fluidity from changing one chord to another, which is a bit of a problem. And also, it looks like, yep, a couple other people are asking about that too. Capital was kind of asking the same thing. So awesome. And Olivia, guys, awesome. I love it. Let's see. Sounds good. All right. Yeah, no, keep them coming, Capital. That's what I'm here for. That's what we're all here for. All right, so let's talk about changing chords, okay? And I'll talk more about the specific examples you kind of had there. One of the things that, you know, whether you're beginner, intermediate, or even advanced chord changing, the first thing that happens that people kind of fall short on or get frustrated with is sounding like crap, all right? And I say that jokingly, but it's so true. You know, when you're first starting out, people do not want to sound bad. No one wants to sound bad, even if you're really good. But it's going to happen. You know, any pursuit that you do in life as, you know, a child, a grown-up, or a teenager, whatever, you're going to suck at it first, you know? No one knew how to walk when you were a baby. You learned, you fell a million times, and then you finally got it. Guitar playing is the same thing, and people got to remember that there's going to be frustration, but you can't be afraid of sounding like crap at first, all right? That's rule number one, and it's going to happen. But here's the thing that happens with most people when they're changing chords that keeps them from progressing and getting over that hump. And it all has to do with that not wanting to sound bad. So let's take, let's take this chord progression that Capital talked about, G to D to C. Let's just start with those, because these are good, because these, you know, we'll just use open chords, and these three chords, G, D, C, are about as different as can be, all right? They're big chords, or they're just different shapes altogether. Some shapes are very similar, some are totally different, but these three are good because they do have a lot of things that are different about them. So there's a few things you want to start off with. Here's the basic principle, all right? When people are working, and let's say we're just playing one chord per bar, all right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what happens is that people, you do want the chord to sustain as long as it can, okay? But what happens is people will do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. They will not play the next chord until they are positive that they have the shape down and that it's going to sound good, all right? So if I'm sitting there and going like this, and then the song's going on, and then I finally get it, and then I play it, but the song now has moved on like 3 bars past where you should have played that chord. The thing that you want to do after you're comfortable with the chord shapes, okay, obviously the first step is to memorize the chords, all right? So if we got G, we go to D, don't even worry about playing the chords, all right? Just put your fingers into the shapes of the chords, okay? Make sure your fingers get used to moving in the positions that they are, okay? The other thing that you eventually want to accomplish with your chord changing is making sure that all the fingers go down at once. The other thing that people do when they're first starting out or struggling with chord changing is they'll move one finger at a time. I got this one, and then that one. Now I'm going to C, so I'm going to put this one down, and then that one down. And that's fine, okay? That's the way you learn. But you gotta, number one big rule, keep in mind that what you're striving to do is change your chord all at once. So I'm going to go off from G, I'm going to come up, and then as you can see, my fingers are in the shape of D in the air, and I'm going to put them down and play it. When I come up to get to C, you can see that the fingers already look like a C chord in the air. And then I'm going to put them all down and then play it. All right? So those are some tips that are really going to help out, you know, just moving and moving quicker. Okay? So the next part after we cover all those things and that you're comfortable with the shapes is that you want to now make sure you play on the right beat. Okay? So what do I mean by that? Let's just take G to D, and I'm going to use my good old metronome here. I can't recommend this enough. Last lesson we talked about using a metronome. I always have one with me when I practice. So let's set a slower beat. Let's go 80. Okay, so we're in 4/4 and we are at 80 beats per minute. Okay, so what I want to make sure I do is change chords on the first beat of the next bar. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the trick. While it's more important to play the next chord on the downbeat, on the 1, okay, rather than try to hold this chord out to keep it sustaining and then struggle to get to the next chord, hit this chord and then immediately start getting ready for the next chord. If you're not comfortable enough with the chords to move quick, it's more important to play the chord on the beat. So, if I do this with the metronome, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, okay? So, I'm moving right away if I need to, okay? Now again, it's going to sound the best if you keep the chords sustaining. In other words, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You could see how I'm holding the chord out for a while, okay? That is what's going to keep that note sustaining and really sound the best. But until you get there, move quick or start moving right away so that your fingers can get used to the chord, okay? Then it's just a matter of playing it on the downbeat. Do not wait for it to feel like it's right. It's going to sound like crap, but that's okay. It's more important for you to force yourself to move quicker, and that's what happens. People, you know, got to get used to pushing yourself to play it faster, provided you're comfortable with the chord, to really get it to sound better. Okay, let me check and see what you guys, if you guys have questions on that before I keep talking about this. Let's take a look. Now you move along strumming from measure to measure with only one chord. Cool. And guys, do me a favor. There's a lot of questions and stuff coming in. So if I miss something as I'm reading through, please just reiterate the chat because I got to kind of scroll down and see everything. But let me know if that helped what we just talked about. Let's see. All right. Please up the volume. I can up the volume. You got it. Fortunately, I'm all teched out in the studio here, so we should be able to get you some more volume. Alright, let's see if this helps. Check 1, 2, test, test, test. Alright, hopefully that's a little bit louder for you, Capel. See my right shoulder. What is this? Alright, cool. So, there's some, it looks like that's pretty good about the chords. And then again, that whole concept is going to follow through open chords, through bar chords, and any other changes, okay? If it's bar chords, same thing. Rule number 1, first just work on getting those shapes memorized, okay, and clean. But when you're now practicing for the sake of moving quicker and connecting them, your goal is not, your first goal is not to have it sound good. In my opinion, what I've seen that works a lot for my students, your first goal should be moving and playing the next chord on the right beat, okay? And again, even if it sounds, let's take G to C as bar chords, okay? Even if it goes like, if it takes a few hits to get the chord good, that's fine. Don't worry the fact that it doesn't sound great, okay? You'll clean that up as you go, but what's most important is that you keep moving with the rhythm and that you play on the right beat, okay? One of the big things about establishing your ear, especially if it's not great from what you're given at birth or whatever, is developing a great sense of rhythm. And that's what people, you know, that's what the metronome's for, and that type of practice will really help you instill how to improve your ear, because once you really dial it in, you won't play off beat. You got to be able to play on beat all the time. That's the most important part about playing guitar, especially with other people. So with chord changing and fluidity, again, number one, don't be afraid of it sounding like crap. Number two, make sure you have the chords memorized, and you could do them without playing and just move the shapes. Put them all down at once eventually, okay? And then the third thing, just make sure you're playing on that downbeat. Make sure you play the chord when it should be played, not after. And that's where things will usually sound like crap. But it's more important for that strumming hand, usually the right hand, to kind of play right on beat. So, cool. Let me know if that helps. Hopefully it does. And let's see if we got some other questions here we could break into talking about. All right. All right, so Capo, I would also like to know how you move along strumming from measure to measure when only one chord holds for two or more measures versus when they change twice within a measure. This is so challenging to manage. Cool, so it looks like we're talking about, just changing chords quicker within a bar. All right, so one of the things that'll help is, first of all, don't feel like you need to play a lot of rhythm, okay? And that is, let's talk about strum patterns in this case. So let's take the same shape, G to D, or the same change, G to D. All right? Now, we could play once per bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now, once you're comfortable with that, we're going to add more rhythm. We're going to strum more, okay? The changes are going to stay the same, but we're going to strum twice per bar. So we're going to strum on beat 1 and beat 3. So check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? So we're getting used to now playing more strumming and more rhythm. We're going to get more comfortable with these beats. That's the first thing, because now your right hand is getting the feel for what it feels like to play 2 chords per bar. We're not changing chords yet, but right hand, one thing at a time. Your right hand's getting used to it first, okay? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, it's the same principles we talked about before. Here's the thing though. Get your metronome and start the thing slower, okay? You could do this perfectly, just do it slower. That's the biggest thing about the metronome, okay? So again, let's say our goal tempo is 80, but what we're going to do now is take it down to 60, all right? So we're at 80, here's 60, okay? So now what we're going to do is play G for 2 beats, or G, and then we're going to change to D on beat 3. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. All right? So now, the goal is to first find a tempo that's slow enough where you could do that perfectly. The metronome will go down to like 40, and it's pretty easy to do at those tempos. You're doing it perfect. Maybe you're not doing it as fast as you want yet, but you're still playing it perfectly. That's what counts. Now, once you really dial that in, the next step, just go 5 beats faster. Go 10 beats faster if you can, all right? Let's hear what 70 sounds like, all right? So now I'm going to bring it up to 70. All right. So, same idea. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? So again, we're playing it perfect. We're just getting faster little by little, okay? And the trick is, it's a mental thing usually. Sometimes if you go to just 2 beats, it might not even seem like it's faster at all, but I assure you it is, all right? And very slowly, you're getting to play it quicker. So then it's just a matter of getting it up to whatever tempo you want. So now if I want to get to 80, all right, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, good. Hopefully that helps. And so that, playing chords quicker with more rhythm is a good way to kind of build your confidence and build those abilities. But again, it all stems with a metronome. Having a consistent beat that you know that you could play it perfectly and have that confidence, and then just take it faster and faster. All right, you're always going to get to play what you want to play quicker by working with a metronome, because you could do it perfectly at slower tempos and then just work your way up. I won't lie, there is a bunch of learning curve and first then frustration when you start with a metronome. Work through it, get confident, make it your best friend. It'll make you so much better, so much quicker. Okay? All right, hopefully that helps. Let me check out some more questions here. All right, Olivia, how you doing? I've been playing the guitar for about 3 years now, and I'm still having trouble making all for the strings sounding out nicely, like with a very easy C chord. The two highest strings, B and E. I always try and make sure my nails are short and my fingers are cupped. All right, cool. And you also just found out you have tendinitis in your right shoulder. That sucks. We'll talk about that. What is the best way to avoid getting it again and only having an acoustic guitar? Okay, so first of all, what was that first question? Okay, so the chords. So if we're getting a C chord here, all right, open chords, again, if you're at that beginner stage, there's a lot of frustration. You got to just keep in mind that it's going to take a while, but you got to work steadily and you got to work smart. The other thing like I talked about before, record yourself so you could really document your progress. We all progress slowly, from a lot slower than we'd like, and you don't always realize that. So if I'm trying C, the first thing is technique, okay? Something that you might get jaded about is if you watch a lot of your favorite players, they might look super relaxed and super sloppy, their thumbs way up, they're just rocking out, and it sounds perfect, all right? They're professionals. This is what they do, all right? You got to keep in mind that's different from where you're at as a learning, guitar player or trying to improve upon this. So there's a lot of things that happen once you're really good and comfortable that you can get sloppy with your technique. But when you're first having, when you're learning chords and you're trying to get your technique better, you got to really keep an eye and focus on your technique. Here's the thing that'll help most. A lot of times when people are working, when they start off, their palm will rest right on the neck, all right, if you could see that like that, all right? The problem with this is that it really prohibits my fingers from moving freely, okay? People kind of put their palm here because it's comfortable and it could rest there, but then their fingers are really restricted to moving around well. What I always tell students, make sure you bring your thumb down to the middle of the guitar neck, all right? Push your wrist out like you just threw a bowling ball. See how I kind of curve my hand around? And when your fingers are on the fretboard, make sure there's at least enough room for a pencil to fit between your palm and the fretboard, okay? You need that space there, because now what happens is my fingers can move all over the place freely, and now I can work around what needs to get to sound good. If my palm comes up on the neck, my fingers are really cramped and I can't move around good, and my thumb's up high. Bring your thumb down low, push your wrist out, and now work with those fingertips. That's where that, where the kind of sweet spot is. The second I bring my palm up and my wrist back towards me, or my elbow back towards me, what happens is your fingers lay flat and the skin touches the other strings. That's not going to get you a good clean chord that you want. So Olivia, make sure your technique looks good by pushing your wrist out, by having space here and staying those fingertips. You want all these knuckles to be super curved, all right? A lot of times, when I look at students, their knuckles will be flat right here. Not good, all right? Not going to help you stay on those fingertips. And like we've talked about before, keep in mind that what's happening with your muscles right now is like holding a push-up in the middle, all right? Again, if you were to do a push-up, lock your arms out or rest on your chest, you could do that all day long. But if you try to hold the push-up right in the middle, at some point everything's going to shake and you can't hold it for long. That's exactly what's happening with your fingers. So just keep in mind that there's only so long you'll hold that until it starts hurting a little bit or just getting uncomfortable. When that happens, rest, all right? Take it easy. And on that same note, if you're dealing with tendinitis, here's a couple notes. There are some warm-up exercises on Super Guitar Licks that you could check out, which are super helpful, all right? Warming up is super important to do on guitar, and we can cover some in a bit if we have time. So, but stretching and warming up, okay? Before you even touch your guitar, okay, a couple exercises that I love to do, take your hand out like this, point your fingers up towards the sky, take your other hand, and just pull your fingers back. Not too hard, but you want to feel this kind of tugging a little bit right under here. Hold that for 10 seconds, all right? Then turn your arm 180 degrees, put your fingers kind of down, and then pull them back towards you this way, all right? Now I'm feeling it kind of up in here and just a bunch of other places. Hold that for 10 seconds. Then the last thing is make a fist. Don't clench it, just make a fist. And take the top of it and pull it down, all right? Isolate your wrist movement like this and pull it down. You'll feel this all up in here, okay? Now, this might not seem like it has anything to do with your shoulder, but number one, all these muscles are going to connect all over the place. So that's number one, okay, is stretching these fingers out. Do that in both hands. Super important because your fingers need to warm up. Then you can kind of continue with some warm-up exercises, which if I have time later, I'll show you. The other thing is make sure that you're sitting in a comfortable position, okay? You might want to experiment with this. When I practice just about anything, if I'm sitting down, I'm actually sitting in classical position, okay? I did study classical guitar for a long time, and it is the most ergonomical position to play. You have the best access to the guitar with the least amount of effort. So what you're going to do is, put your guitar on your left knee, raise your knee, or raise your foot. Put it on a footstool or just elevate it somehow so that your guitar becomes closer to you, okay? This position, which I'm sitting with it like this now, allows me to really work a lot more effortlessly. I have better access to the guitar neck, my shoulder is much more relaxed, and I can just chill out and work on my fingers. If I kind of move it out here and get a little bit sloppy and slouch, now my wrist has to really go out far, and I get in these very compromising positions, all right? So when you're sitting down, make sure that you're really relaxed and comfortable, okay? One of my favorite guitar players, John Petrucci of Dream Theater, he's one of the most technical, fast, and amazing guitar players there is. And it's funny because, he's in this really hard progressive rock band called Dream Theater. And he needs to look cool. It's kind of a part of the gig, right? And so, but because of how fast he shreds and plays, he needs to usually play like this even if he's standing up. So he had these like footstools with kind of like badass metal plating, built around them. All they are footstools. But he needed to make sure they look cool because standing around looking like this usually isn't cool. But again, it's what's going to give you the best access to the guitar neck and to really play fast and do the things that you want. So check those things out. And then one more thing about, if you're having issues with tendonitis, with any type of pains or anything that happens, sharp pain is bad, okay? Quick, sharp pain. If you start feeling that, stop, put your guitar down, go do something else. Stretch, ice it, use some hot, pads, whatever. If I have a lot of sore stuff, usually I'll put like cold for 30 seconds, hot for 10 or whatever, a combination of the two. If you have quick pain, whether it shoots up your arm, in your fingers, in your shoulder, just stop, okay? That's bad. If you're just sore, that's normal and that's good. That's building muscle, practice as much as you can, rest it up. But just keep in mind, sharp pain, not good. Something's going on with your technique or maybe other issues, talk to your doctor. Certainly not my place to kind of diagnose anything. But again, if you're doing other activities too, whether you're on the keyboard a lot, I spend a lot of time on the internet because I have my guitar sites. Until I found that, supporting your elbows, sitting in the right way, I was in bad shape when I first really got very busy online because I wasn't supporting my elbows, I was sitting bad, and being on the keyboard all day really affected my playing. So make sure that all the other activities you do, that you're also making sure that you're in a good ergonomical position and all that fun stuff. All right, cool. Let's check out some other questions if you have them. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. All right. Cool. Yeah, awesome. All right, let's read some other questions here. I like to use the forefinger for G, so that way I got a pivoting finger that stays on the B string. They'd be better off if they did not. Slack off. I never went bowling. Go for it. Just go bowling. That's right. Never mind. Don't worry about that. Okay, so you asked about the G chord. All right, so the four-finger G, which I'm assuming you're talking about using your middle finger on the big E string, first finger on the second fret of the B string, and then ring finger and pinky on the B and E string on the bottom. This would probably be, the typical 4-finger G string, or 4-finger G chord, okay? And so you're asking, you like that one the best. That way you've got a pivoting finger that stays on the B string, which is this one here. Is it okay to play like that, or should I learn the 3-finger as well? Now, that's totally cool. The thing that you want to understand about chords, all right, if we talk about a major chord, there's only 3 notes actually that need to be in the chord, okay? There's the root, the third, and the fifth. Almost every chord that's played on guitar takes certain notes and repeats them, okay? In this case, if we're talking about this finger that you're asking about, the ring finger on the D string, all right, that note is D. I'm also playing that same note on the D string, open. All right, now, you can hear those two. It's the same note, the ring finger's an octave higher, but if I take that note off, it's just a different voicing. The same notes are happening within the chord, so that's really, fine. If it's more comfortable for you, sometimes it depends on what chord you're coming to or going from, but both will be fine, And Ed Eason, one of the other musicians on Tavama that talks about guitar, he's saying from a professional gigging standpoint, he rarely uses the 3-chord or the 4-chord. He usually uses just this easy 2-chord version, okay? Which I'm actually muting the B string and just playing this. So anything's possible there, as long as it sounds good and it works for your song, that's fine. Because again, there's just different voicings, there are different ways you could stack the notes. And usually, by adding a finger, taking it off, it'll sound fine and work fine. So, good question. Let's see. Better off they did not slack off. No, I wouldn't think of, I wouldn't consider it slacking. It's just, doing what works for you. All right, Capo, let's see. I use an acoustic guitar, and if I keep it in my right leg, my right shoulder rises and hurts after a while. So I keep the guitar in between the 2 legs. This seems middle of the run for everyone, but accuracy of finger placement in position 1 suffers. How can I transition it for better placement on the right leg? So yeah, if you do really want to kind of be in this position, one of the things is to make sure it's kind of raised up close to you. You can see that my right leg right now is kind of chilling on a footstool, but it's raised up. If it's down like this, and my leg kind of slants, the guitar's going to go like this. And a lot of little kids that I start off with will do this so they could see the guitar neck. Because the other problem is that when you sit with the guitar straight and close up to you, you can't see the fretboard as if you do this. Keep in mind, the more that you turn your guitar neck like this, the more this hand is going to do this thing that has to reach really far, and this is not good. So if you're having trouble with the right leg, number 1, make sure it's as close to your body as possible, and that you have, at least, your leg should at least be flat, if not raised up a bit. You definitely don't want your knee going below your thigh, all right? Because then your guitar is just going to slip down on you, especially if it's an acoustic, all right? So make sure that your right leg is propped up and that your guitar is close to you. The other thing is just get used to looking at your frets by using, most guitars have, dots as fret markers on the top here, all right? That's there for a reason to help you know where you're at. So if I'm looking at the guitar like this right now, from this point of view, I can't really see the fretboard, okay? But I could see the fret markers, so I know where that's at. After you play enough, your fingers just get to know what string they're on, and it becomes easier. But if you're just starting out, or if this is, something newer to you, make sure that, your guitar is right up against your body and that it's close to you. Okay, and that you're also keeping the neck straight. Don't let it slouch like this. All right, hopefully that helps. All right, let's see. Okay, Olivia, I can really feel the one with the fist. Oh yeah, yep, you'll feel that right there. I'm going to be doing these stresses. Great, awesome. I'll try and get some time. Thank you, Coco and Olivia, for questions. So helping me for 2. Awesome, I love it. You guys are helping each other. That's awesome. I love it. All right. Not taking them. No, keep them coming, Olivia. Again, this is why we're here. All right. Should we have it on our right leg or left? So, sorry, I think I missed something. Have been learning guitar for 2 years, but the fingertips still. Okay. Capo will talk about that in a second. Olivia, we were talking about, Capo was asking and saying that you know, this position on his left leg is not really comfortable for him because of other issues. So he's asking about, if he does put it on his right leg, what is the best way to kind of sit with it? So that's what I was just talking about with the right leg. If you want the best access to the guitar neck on the left leg, again, all assuming that you're a lefty, or your fretting head is your left hand, is on the left leg and having this raised up, okay? You're also, you know, going to be a little bit, you know, make sure that your back kind of stays up straight. When I was in school for guitar, you know, every practice room in the place had a mirror that you would sit in front of, because you got to keep in mind, it's like, you know, if you sit for a guitar with an hour or two, or even a half hour or whatever, you know, you're in these weird positions, and if you're not focused on your posture, you can kind of really get, you know, a neck that is off place and just your back gets sore. So you got to make sure you're sitting upright no matter what, all right? So again, there's not a wrong way, whether it's on your right leg or left leg. You just want to make sure whichever you do, that you're following the right principles for staying comfortable and in good posture. So hopefully that helps. All right, so let's see. So I've been learning guitar for over 2 years, but the fingertips still miss the right string for the fret. Is it a finger condition issue? Probably not. All right, a lot of people ask this and sometimes get frustrated. Kappa, would you say that you have, you know, big fingers, or are they small, medium? What would you say that your fingers are? Because sometimes people have, like, you know, really big hands and big fingers, and sometimes people are smaller. Medium, good. Okay, then you're perfect. So number one, we're not going to use an excuse of your fingers aren't the right shape or whatever. So not that you're saying that, but a lot of times students are like, you know, oh, my fingers are too small to play, or this or that, and that's usually never the case. So let's see, but the fingertips still miss the right string for the fret. So are you focusing more on chord stuff, or are you focusing on lead playing and soloing, or both? What's the kind of situation that this usually happens with, Capel? Both. All right, cool. Yeah, so a lot of it, number one, make sure, and again, sometimes it's tricky without seeing you there. One of the things that we're working at with Tivamo is to kind of do group lessons with video so I could also see. Obviously, there's only so much I can tell you if I'm not seeing what you're doing. But as far as technique, one of the exercises that you could do to really help refine your fingertips and just getting used to them is start off on the 5th fret of the G string, okay? Play this one note, and then play with each finger. You're going to go up 1 fret at a time on the same string, and then come down. Now, that seems super simple and boring, and it kind of is, but that's not the point. The point is that we're going to really work towards posture and getting the right technique. You can see that again. I have my thumbs down low. I have space between my palm and the fretboard, and my fingertips are curved, okay? Sometimes, again, if your fingertips aren't curved and your knuckles aren't if your knuckles aren't curved and you're not playing on the fingertips, it's very easy to kind of miss what string it is. And the other really cool exercise that you could do, and you don't even need to pick with this one, is if I keep all these fingers down like this, I'm going to take my first finger, all right, and I'm going to go up and down, all right? Just going to the next 2 strings. You could play them if you want. So in other words, now I'm going to go down to the A string and the B string. Now I'm going to go to the E string and the E string. See what I mean? Now I'm going to put that finger back and do it with just the middle finger. What this is doing is it's working finger independence, and it's also getting the tips of those fingers to make sure they still play where they need to be. This gets really tricky with the ring finger, but let's see if we could do it. All right, and if I do that again with my pinky, okay, so there's a little easy exercise. Well, it might not actually seem easy, but it's a simple idea. It doesn't matter where you do it. It's just more about using fingers individually and independently of each other, because that's one of the things that happens a lot when you're trying to find strings is that, you know, whether it's a chord or a melody, all these things are going on and you forget what finger's supposed to do what. And because of that, they kind of fumble around and miss strings or whatever. So really doing some exercises that really focus on individual movements while isolating your other fingers is usually really, really helpful. It's just one of those things that it's not always the most exciting thing to practice, but if you could find ways to make it fun and interesting, that's one of the things I would really recommend. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. All right. Okay, cool. Let's see, I think it's clean up for me. I put the guitar on my left leg and put my foot on my dog's box of bones, and it seemed to help right away. You got it. Awesome. The only thing that helps Olivia too, you know, if you go to any music shop, usually has like a footstool that's made for guitar. One of the things that's really nice is that, you know, like anything else, usually it's just a flat surface. And when you put your foot on a flat surface, it's not ideal. The guitar stool has an angle to it, and you could raise it up and down like this. So having your foot on something that's angled will make it even better and more comfortable. They're like 15 bucks. You know, go to a music store. It's just like this metal thing. I don't have one on me around here right now. I think there's one upstairs. But a guitar stool is adjustable, and it'll keep your foot at an angle. Because again, keeping it flat, that might cause some issues in the front of your foot or whatever. But you know, anything's better than nothing. So make sure your left foot is raised, you know, maybe a foot or a foot and a half higher than your right foot when you're sitting. And that way the guitar shoots right up to you. You know, if you have an acoustic or a classic guitar, usually the body's a little bit bigger and it'll kind of get up closer to you. If you have an electric guitar, you might need something that brings your foot up a little bit higher, okay? But again, that position, it's definitely the best for really long practicing sessions. Or if you're doing really technical stuff and you need to get the best access to the guitar neck, that's something that'll help out a lot. So, cool. All right, let's take a look. Thanks for showing the thumb placement and one finger at a time. You got it. No problem, Capo. What are you playing, or let's see, where are you placing the non-playing fingers? Are they on any strings or up in the air? Good question. So the non-playing fingers, they are staying all on the strings that they're on. So everything right now is on the G string, okay? But all these fingers are going to stay right there. So when I'm working my first finger, all these three fingers stay right where they are. Don't move them. You'll want to I mean, the first finger is pretty easy. The middle finger is pretty easy as well. The ring finger is not easy. All right, I'm not sure if this is true, but I think I've heard before that, like, your middle finger and your index finger are on their own tendon, and I think the ring finger and pinky share a tendon. I could be wrong with that, but there's something that goes on where anything your ring finger wants to do, your pinky wants to do with it. So when you do this exercise, you know, you'll find that when you get to your ring finger, isolating just that one finger, it's tricky because your pinky wants to do something along with it. But all I'm doing is keeping all these fingers down. If you have to think about pushing a little bit harder with them so they don't move, that's fine. But that isolation and just relax and try to do this, you know, is a way to kind of get used to those fingers. All right, so there's a kind of refinement of that tip. All right, let's see. Well, that'd be nice next time. I'm at the music store. That should be soon. Should be soon. I'm just nice. Yeah, go to your music store, hang out, find, you know, ask for the footstool. Most places will have it. You can get it online too. All right, Abhishek, I hope that's how I pronounce your name. Absolutely loving discussions here. I find it more comfortable to stand and practice with the electric. That said, do you suggest wearing the guitar high or low? High makes it comfortable, but... Oh, yeah, here we go. The conversation of what looks cool. Not going to lie, that's important to people. Actually, I mean, it's funny because a lot of times people, if they're just starting out, will ask me when they're buying their first guitar, what should I look for? And I swear to God, the best piece of advice I tell people, if you're first starting out, buy the guitar that looks cool. That's what matters most. You need to be inspired by your instrument and want to play it. And that same thing kind of goes when you're practicing and you know, you're trying to, when you play music and guitar, it's so much to do with emotion. And you want to make sure that you're feeling the emotion of why you're getting into this. It's fun. You want to feel like you're rocking out. I agree. I like practicing standing up. It is an entirely different beast, and I'm glad you asked that question. You know, sitting down in a guitar with this, you know, doesn't really look cool for that, you know, for the sake of what we're talking about. But when we're talking about standing up, okay? A lot of it is, similar. I like playing my guitar up high, okay? It gives me better access to the guitar neck, all right? So I don't mind that. And again, it depends on your style and depends on what type of guitar player you are. If you're a rhythm guitar player, okay, then it's probably a little bit easier for you to play your guitar lower down because you're not doing all this crazy technical stuff. So, but if you play a lot more lead and soloing, having the guitar up high on you is usually a lot better and more comfortable. So, if you want to deal with the coolness, just do cool things. Get your hand up in the air, do something that looks cool, to kind of, if you don't feel like having your guitar up here is cool, just make a cool face or something, I don't know. But I agree, it's always not what feels the coolest, but again, if it makes you play a lot better, that's a heck of a lot more important, unless you're, some big pop star that has to deal with image, and not worry about how you sound, then, don't worry about it, do what's going to make you sound the best and be the most comfortable. So, but it is a super good question because you want to feel cool. So hopefully that helps. What kind of music do I play? Oh man, great question, Olivia. The thing I love most about guitar is learning different styles. All right. To me, that's what's most exciting. I'm more of a studio musician, and teaching has always been one of my main incomes for a long, long time. I love performing, but I don't play in a band usually. I do sit in with some bands, or I'll go play open mics. But, because I focus so much on studio and teaching, what I love most is studying different styles. The only style I'm really not into is jazz. It's just a different beast. It doesn't excite me as much. It's amazing, but I don't really get into jazz much. Almost everything else I really love. I grew up really loving, the kind of shredders, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, John Petrucci, Zakk Wylde. One of my other absolute favorites is actually a guy named Mike Oldfield. He wrote the melody and the piece of music called Tubular Bells. He is a phenomenal guitarist and musician. He writes really dense stuff, so it's great. But more recently, I'm studying a lot of fingerstyle stuff. I'll play you something new I'm working on. Actually, let's break it up a little bit and I'll play you something cool right now. But one of the newer styles I'm studying is fingerstyle, which is, on acoustic, using your fingers, usually with a thumb pick. I did study classical and flamenco in college for a bit and love it. The things I like playing are really, complex. They take a lot of time to learn, but for me, they're worth it. When you get really cool stuff down, it gets that wow factor. So when people hear you, they're like, damn, that's great. So to me, it's worth it, and I just love, doing complex stuff. So what I've been working on lately, oh, Olivia, you're asking Abishai. Gotcha. Cool. Well, you guys go ahead and have your conversation. Leave me out of it. No, that's cool. Let's see. Metal, mostly keeping in mind. That's true. I can't think of one metal player where it's high. Never noticed before. Pimp it out with stickers. There you go. See, Olivia, told you. Get some glitter or some stickers, whatever. Make it look cool so that, if you don't feel like it's cool. If you look at like James Hetfield, the Metallica, his guitar is down to his thighs. I don't know how he plays that way. It's just, but he's more of a rhythm player, so it might be easier. But you can't play technical stuff, way down that load, in my opinion. If you look at John Petrucci, his guitar's way up on him because he's always shredding and doing crazy fast stuff. So it really depends on what you're doing. And believe me, I've seen people, like if they haven't been taught a certain way, they develop these techniques that are just like, I'm like, whoa. Because, I'm not going to say it's always wrong, but sometimes it's not the most proficient. But, I had a student once come to me, and his thumb never touched the fretboard once. He played like this. And I'm like, oh, man, if I try to change this guy, it's going to mess him up for, like, months. But I'm like, your technique is definitely something that you kind of learn to your own unique way. And sometimes people are able to make something work for them. So, but again, if you start feeling pains and tricky, and stuff hurts, then look at your technique. So, let's see. What do I like to listen to? But I'm always happy to know about you. Thanks. Yeah, there you go. Glitter glue. Love it. Cool. Awesome. All right, guys. We got about 10 minutes left. Any other big topics or anybody else have questions too? I'm not sure who else is out on there. Hopefully this is helping, all those other guys out there that aren't, kind of active. And that's totally cool. You know, I always, sometimes people, you know, if you're out there and you have other questions, don't be afraid to jump in, because again, I'm open book for whatever you guys want to know. And obviously, I'm here to kind of help you guys with what you're talking, with what you want. But you got it. Cool. So actually, let me talk about briefly what I originally was going to plan on talking about in developing your ear. Okay. So one of the things that's super important for developing your ear is the minor pentatonic scale. Okay. This is so quintessential. Whether you like lead playing and melody and soloing, doesn't really matter. The minor pentatonic scale is absolutely the most important thing you want to start off with first, because it works over almost anything. So the exercise I tell people first to start off with when they're developing their ear is to figure out a song and what key it's in. That's super, super important. And what you're listening for is to make sure that the notes in the scale sound good over the song. So here's what I mean. If you learn that minor pentatonic scale, okay, so if we learn that scale, let's say we want to try to figure out what key a song is in. What I tell people to do is play the song, whether it's a recording, your favorite song, or a jam or whatever, and try not to look at what key it's in. All the backing tracks I have on Rock Guitar Power and Super Guitar Licks, most of them talk about what key it's in, but let's say you just have a song that you like and you want to listen to it and figure it out. Let the song play. Most songs do not change key signatures, all right? So that's something to keep in mind. There are some that do, but most don't. And that's a good thing when you're trying to figure out and develop your ear. Because what you want to do is first figure out what key a song is in. So before you go Googling it and figuring it out and just getting the easy route, what I tell people to do, let the song play, start at the first fret, and play your minor pentatonic scale against the song. Okay? As that's playing, ask yourself, does every single note sound like it works against the song? If you hear a note against a tune and it sounds super sour and wrong, then chances are that is not the key that you should be in. All right? And then just move up one fret and do the whole thing again. When you use the minor pentatonic scale, 9 times out of 10, if not more, every note in that scale will sound good against the song you're listening to. In most styles. Jazz is probably the only one, classical too, but most of the popular styles that people really love listening to, this works over anything. Let me show you an example. I'm going to call up a backing track. I'm not going to tell you which one it is or what key it's in, but let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. So we're just going to find... Hey Larry, no problem, man. You know, and again, we are recording this. I think Tivamo is still working out on, you know, getting the actual replays up, you know, and all that stuff, which I've seen one up, but we're still working out that. I also post the replays of these on rockguitarpower.com. So if you're not already a member there, go sign up on the homepage, enter your name and email, get in for free. But as part of the free stuff, there is a place there where you can see the replays of all these. So if you miss anything, you want to review what we talk about, I post the replays on my site, but you could also check Tivamo as well. So, and again, I think they're still working on getting that coming. Close. Cool, awesome. Yeah, thanks, Chris. All right, so let's find a. Okay, here we go. Let's do this one. Okay, so here's a backing track I'm going to play to. Let's say this is the song that you're wanting to figure out. What we're going to do is let the song play. And I'm going to start at the first fret and just play my pentatonic scale up and down. And I'm going to ask myself, does every single note sound good? Okay, let's see what happens. Here we go. Play. There we go. Okay, now, I just played that and it sounded like crap, okay? You could just hear that all the notes just don't sound good, okay? So that is not my key. Don't get discouraged. The next thing is just move up to the second fret and do the same thing again. Let the recording play. So right there, you can hear that note just doesn't sound good. All right? So that's probably not your key. Let's do it on the 3rd fret. Okay? Again, the notes just aren't connecting. So that is telling you that's not the key signature. So I'm going to fast forward, and we're going to move up towards a little bit higher. I know what key this is in. Let's try this at the 8th fret and see what happens. Alright, still not sounding good. So what we're going to do is go one more, and we're going to go to the 9th fret. Let's see what happens. So that is what key we're in. Now I know if you're just starting off with this technique, you don't really know what you're listening for. So the first thing you might want to do is, I just dropped all my picks. All right, hang on. So the first thing that you want to do is, it's okay to figure out what, or go find out what key a song is in. And then play the pentatonic scale against it so that you know the way it sounds when you play the pentatonic scale and it sounds good. That way, when you go away from that, you're going to start hearing all the notes that sound wrong, and that's going to let you know that you're not in the right key. This takes practice like everything else, okay? The other thing that really helps to develop your ear is figure out one very simple lick. The lick that I love teaching people is, let's use this same jam here. We're going to go to the 9th fret on the D string with my ring finger, okay? I'm going to hit that note and slide to the 11th fret. Then I'm going to go to the 9th fret on the G string, and then come back to my ring finger on the 11th fret on the D string. Okay, and then I'm going to play the 11th fret on the G string. Then I'm going to go to 9, and then end with the 7th or the 11th fret on the D string. So the whole lick looks like this. Okay, so in Rock Guitar Power, this is in, I teach this I think in volume 2, and it's called Your First Guitar Lick, all right? This lick is so quintessential because it's used, you can use it almost everything. Yeah, it's actually lesson 1 in volume 2. Let's take a look if I could post the link. I'm just going to test something out here. So we'll see. All right, cool. So there's a link to that lick, all right? So in other words, if we do this, that's the way you want the lick to sound. Now, I want to get really good at that, and when I really play a scale and I think it's all right, or that might be the key, play that lick over the jam or the song. So in other words, let's do that. Here we go. 3, 4. Hear that connecting. That's, again, one other thing that you could use to develop your ear to say, all right, I know this lick, I always use the same lick. That's really important. It might get a little bit boring, but you want to keep things consistent, okay? And playing that lick when you figure out what key it's in will really help you develop, oh, that sounds good, I know the way that clicks, and that's something that you can just start off with. There's so much more to kind of learning and playing by ear, but I'll talk about that more in future lessons, you know, when we have more time to dig into it. But I wanted to make sure I gave you guys at least a couple tips to get started with it. So hopefully that helps. So your minor pentatonic scale, and play a very simple lick that you know the way it sounds when it's played right over the right key signature. Then it's just a matter of finding it out. The guitar, again, very pattern-oriented instrument. Learn your patterns, and they'll really serve you well to have fun and move quickly on progressing. Okay, hopefully that helps. All right, so we're pretty much out of time here. Let's see. Let's take a look at what else we got. Alrighty. Cool, guys. Looks like you guys are reaching out to each other. I love it. I love it. I love it. One of the things that I try to do in the Guitar Pro Jam, that's one of the programs in Rock Guitar Power. It's all about people trying to interact with each other. I teach you how to jam and improvise, And my whole goal with that was for people to get more confident jamming and finding other people to play music with. So by all means, if it's helping you guys right now, that's exactly what my goal is with doing these lessons, is making you guys more comfortable, reach out, have fun, find someone to jam with, trade tracks back and forth. You know, we're even trying to use this platform to maybe try to do a live jam back and forth. So hopefully we'll get there at some point. We'll keep you posted. So, all right. Let's see. I don't get any images anymore. Not sure what you mean by that, but you can kind of let me know. Oh, refresh. Okay, gotcha. Cool. All right, guys. Cool. Awesome. So a couple quick notes. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to Tivamo. Really love doing these lessons. I don't have anything posted right now, but keep in touch to your email, and either me or Tivamo will let you know when the next lessons coming out. I got to kind of check my schedule and get on top of a couple things before I schedule another one of these. But a bunch of you guys have been out here, you know, both on the weekend and the weekdays. If anybody can get a quick poll, you know, let me know. Do you guys prefer the weekend, or the weekday nights? You know, I'm trying to kind of mix it up so that we can reach as many people as possible. Everyone can't obviously make the same time, but you know, if the weekends are better, let me know, and I'll try to free up more of those to kind of work with you guys. Let's see. Keep me busy for a long time. You got it, buddy. Yeah. Capel, there you go, man. And again, you know, shameless plug, you know, if you're really looking for more too, you know, that's what Rock Guitar Power and Super Guitar Licks are for. You know, so those really help you go more in depth. You know, we're also possibly looking to maybe do, you know, I'll maybe free up some time to do some private lessons. So if you guys out there have any, you know, really specific questions that you want extra focus on, we could talk about, you know, that. But we'll chat. Send me a message through Tivamo. That's usually the best way to kind of, you know, since we're using this platform to kind of do that. So awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Again, you could always get in touch with me on the contact forms on Super Guitar Licks and Rock Guitar Power. I get all my emails. I respond to all my emails, or message me on Tivamo. I've been getting a lot of great messages there, and I'm happy to answer your questions and keep the conversation going. So hopefully that helps. And guys, let's see if there's any one thing, but I don't really know how to improv. Oh yeah, Olivia, that's exact. I mean, there's so many programs. I will cover that, but if you get a chance, go check out the Guitar Pro Jam on Rock Guitar Power. That's exactly what that program's for, and it'll get your confidence up to do that. All right, but that's the fun part about, you know, playing guitar for me too, is jamming, improvising, and all that. So you can check that out. All right, guys, I got to bounce. Thank you so much. Hopefully this helped out. Thank you all of you that donated to VH1, Save the Music, and we'll definitely keep in touch. And I look forward to helping you guys out next time on our next guitar lesson. Thanks to Tivamo. We'll see you guys soon.